This is Big Business with Sarah. This podcast guides you to finding what you desire most in life and business, because running a business is very much about your personal development. In this podcast, I'm sharing what my clients ask me and how I help them. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to Big Business with Sarah, and I'm your host, Sarah. No surprise there. And today we're diving into a topic a client asked me recently, which is all about helping her prepare for her industry talk while staying close to her authentic self. For this client, an opportunity emerged for her, and she believes that in front of this group of people, she is able to sell her offer and or receive feedback on her story, so that she can create a better story or focus on some more things. So this is a very important community to her. And giving a presentation and showing your expertise is great. And so when you really see that opportunity, I suggest to go for it. And, for instance, to me, this podcast has been a great way of finding my voice. And I believe, giving a presentation to, especially a live presentation to people, is an amplifier to that, so you can really grow really fast. So before we dive in, I wanted to share some practicalities with you, because I do mention this a lot, the thing that some of my other clients also ask me is, should I be giving the talk for free? And so I wrote down 4 possible scenarios for you that you can choose from, and you can decide, whatever you want, but just some ideas and some, things that you can consider and think about, and what I've seen for the past 1.5 years. By the way, today is my 1.5 year as a coach anniversary. Yay, me. So it's September 7th. I started March 7th, 2022. So today marks the 18-month mark. And my podcast is a little older because I started a little bit earlier on February 24th, also to prepare for my coaching. But so 1.5 years a coach. I really love that. I will probably reflect on that at some point in the podcast. Not this one, but maybe the next. So for things to consider, if somebody, whether or not they offer you money or not. So I think in a case where you believe that it's very, very possible that you can sell your offer to a specific target group, which is in the event. So not so much the people that ask you to do the talk, right? But, the people who are sitting in the audience, it's really up to you, of course, to be so good and, let people decide, to follow you, or we will talk about that later. But, if you really think that there is your ideal client in the audience, then yes, you can consider to talk for free, especially if you don't have a lot of experience yet. And, you still have a little bit of time left on your calendar. Yes, do it. And then another thing that I want to share with you is it's also a little bit depending on the cause. So for me, for instance, I give away 4 talks a year for free for causes I believe in, and causes that don't really have a lot of money. So, for instance, female empowerment organizations who are working with people who don't have a lot of financial needs right now, that they, maybe they want to, but, so not right now. So, it might be a subsidized organization. Yes, of course. Then I will talk about how to, for instance, start your online business, or how to find, or how to start kind of creating, the shapes of your first business plan. What is it that you're really interested in? I can really help a group of people with that. And I like that. I like to do that because, it's, of course, this podcast is for free as well, but I'm always working with people, of course, who have the money, right? So, because they need to pay to get into my programs. And actually I make it really my job to make this podcast. Actually, what I think, if somebody would religiously listen to my podcast, every week, if they spend another 2 hours on something that they've learned from the podcast, they can actually really build their business. That's also why I created it. The same goes for free masterclasses. The same goes for my weekly newsletter. So I always try to give as much value as I can. It's just that sometimes people, of course, don't have the time to spend, 2 hours a week on, after listening to the podcast, on implementing what I shared. But so, especially with those talks, yes, I really do want to help a specific group of people. And of course, they have specific questions, regarding their situation. And I could coach them on that, during the presentation. So that's a little bit, my rule. And yeah, you can do it maybe once a year or maybe 8 times a year. It's really up to you. I thought about 4 talks a year. And actually, I never fill them up, also because I'm not very active in promoting that. So that's a rule that I can really live by. So the third option is, and this is, I think, something that we all have to really watch out for. If, this happens a lot, actually. And this is something that I think you shouldn't do it for free. If this organization or business or cause or whatever, if they have just not fixed their budget in the right way, for instance, they spend a lot of money on the location or the catering or the moderator, and they forgot you as a speaker, to reserve some budget, well, then you might want to reconsider. And, are you just a stage filler? And really be very aware of this, sorry, but if you're going to apply for funding for your event, you should also include speakers. So also for the funds, people who are working in funds who are listening, always make sure that in the budget there's also a budget for speakers, because people are coming for free then or not, but are spending their time on that event, and that's really a reason maybe to consider to or up the funding or maybe dismiss it, because honestly, having speakers for free, unless it's one of those causes, or if it's really an exchange, if it's a very fair exchange of knowledge, yes, of course, in a mastermind you're not going to ask others to speak. Or to pay you when you speak. But yeah, in so many ways, look at that difference. So, and then the fourth tip I want to give you is this. There's also a difference between online or offline presentations. So obviously the latter is much easier, depending on your situation, but it costs you less time. So this is actually an entire episode whether or not you should charge and what you should charge. And let me know if you want me to create a podcast on that. So also, if you have to do work for free, like a little assignment, or, maybe if it's something that you really think that is going to work for you, I can create a podcast on, what kind of rules you can apply to that, so you won't feel bad about it. So let me know through Instagram or LinkedIn or any other way that you can reach me if you want me to create that, and I will. So if you're gearing up to take the stage and share your experience, then this really episode is for you. So everything that follows. And by the way, I've organized hundreds of industry events. So I know what it's like to prepare speakers, make their presentation worthwhile. So I know a thing or two about this, also from the other side, not just being on stage, because that's something I've done too, a lot, actually, mostly as a moderator, by the way, but also definitely as a speaker. And so I have 3 tips for you, and it's very much about, being yourself, because I think that's the most important thing. So tip number 1 is, when it comes to preparing for your industry talk, the first thing you want to do is craft a proposal that's rooted in your beliefs and values. So this means taking the time to really understand what you stand for and what message you want to convey to your specific audience. So really think about the core points that resonate with you also, because that's what I believe in. It starts with you. Your business starts with you. Listen to every other episode. I'm talking about this. What unique perspective can you bring to the table? And your proposal should not only showcase your expertise, but also reflect your passion and authenticity. So a well-crafted proposal really sets the foundation for, an impactful talk, and you can really truly connect to your listeners. And once you're doing that, also already think about what you want to sell. So you don't have to share this in the proposal per se, to the people that you are going to sell your talk to, but you can also mention it at the end of the presentation. So what you think might be interesting for the audience, and think of this from a servant's point of view, right? So it's not that, yes, you're selling. Obviously, that's what you're doing, but it's not just that. You're offering people a service. So, for instance, if you're doing, a masterclass on a specific topic, there's only so much information that you can give in a limited time, and then you can say, if you want to learn more, don't say that. Don't say if you want to learn more, but if you want to apply this, if this sounds like something that you really like, if you want to dive deep into what's possible for you, I am open for da da da, and it could be anything, right? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So moving on to tip number 2 is embracing your authentic presence on stage. So it's really easy to if you are on stage, but also when you're recording. So it's easy to get caught up in trying to present a polished image, right? So, and this is actually, having organized hundreds of industry events, I've seen so many people struggle with this, thinking, and they were always, representing another business, so not even their own business. So they thought they had to, present themselves in a certain way, like, people would say professional, but I mean, it's most of the time it's just very cramped on stage and doesn't look good. But really, authenticity is what truly resonates with an audience. So embrace your natural speaking style, gestures, and even those little imperfections that make you human. So if there's something now, for instance, that you're always kind of doing something weird with your hand, or that you kind of have, I'm not sure if you're saying this in English as well, if you have a tick, if there's something that you're doing, repeatedly, just keep it that way. It's okay. Okay, so if it's really that, if it's really so annoying that people are not going to watch anymore, yes, okay, get rid of it, try to find a way. But I mean, come on, most of the time it's not that case. So before the big day, practice in front of a mirror or record yourself, and this will really help you become aware of your body language and delivery. So I mean, it's not the same, but I was preparing for my free masterclass at Art Profit, which ran last week. And once again, I saw that my hands are doing actually most of the talking. Right now, it's a little bit less because, there's no people right here in the Zoom. And, it's just when after the Art Profit masterclass, I was looking at the replay, I was looking at my arms. I think I did great, obviously. It's nothing, about that. I was also sharing in Instagram stories that it's almost like, in The Ring, that scary movie that which was first a Japanese Ringu movie and then turned into an American version. And when that girl with that that sleeky black hair is coming out of the television, and that's a little bit what that looked like. And I kind of jokingly said, yeah, next time I'm coming out of your screen. And I was thinking, yeah, is this also the movie where they say 7 days? I actually have no idea what this movie is about. Yeah, obviously it's a scary movie, but I really don't remember. I kind of stopped watching scary movies. Anyway, practice. Being very aware of your body language and delivery is going to help you, because then you're not surprised, right? When you're on stage, you're all of a sudden, doing a somersault or something. Oh, right, yeah, this is what I do. So when those nerves start to creep in, remember that your audience wants to hear from you, and they don't want to hear listen to a perfect robot. Channel that nervous energy into excitement and use it to fuel your genuine connection with your listeners. And then finally, let's tackle tip number 3, submitting a standout proposal. So we already talked about it before, but so when you're putting together your proposal, it's essential to make it stand out from the rest. So start with a captivating hook that grabs the selection committee's attention right away, right? So also focus on the emotional journey your talk will take your audience on. So really, in medieval times, when I was still working as an interim manager, I was a temporary manager at an organization, and we were talking. It was for marketeers for arts and culture. And I organized an event, and it was very much on. I think the topic was something like get your museum on television or something. So a way to promote your museum. And there was one television presenter who is actually a very successful presenter. This was back in, I think it was 2014. And he shared with us, wow, it's almost 10 years ago. Oh, that's scary. Yeah. Okay. I have to recover after creating this episode with all of those revelations. Anyway, he told us as an audience, people like emotions. People don't care about your painting. What people want to see on television, and television, of course, is a bigger version of almost anything. People only like the emotions. And if I want to sell, he said something like, if I want to sell a pack of butter, it's not about the butter. It's about what the butter makes me feel. Or the feeling that it gives me, or the results and that's always an emotion. So think about how will people feel after listening to you. I'm also doing this in this podcast, right? So I always want to motivate you. That's the feeling that I want to give you, positive feelings. Yay, okay, it's another day, let's do this. That's the feeling that I want to give you. And, once you understand that, and this is with everything, right? This could also be with meetings, with appointments. What feeling do you want to give to other people? Anyway, what insights or transformations will your audience gain? And do not forget to highlight what sets you apart as a speaker, right? So if you want to talk about AI, okay, why should you talk about AI? So what is your unique angle or perspective that no one else can offer? And believe me, you do have a unique offer and angle. So really have a proposal that combines passion, emotional resonance, uniqueness, and that will undoubtedly catch the decision maker's eyes. So there you have it, really 3 powerful tips to help you prepare for your industry talk while staying true to yourself. Craft your proposal with purpose and also the intention to sell. Embrace your authentic presence on stage and submit a standout proposal that reflects your passion and uniqueness. And really, I want you to remember that the world needs your voice and your perspective. So don't be afraid to share your expertise while being unapologetically you. And now it's time for one of your questions. So recently I hosted my Art Profit Masterclass, and this was an opportunity for people to get to know me, and a few people were interested in following up, in working together a little bit more. And I was, there was many questions, coming up, but there was one specific question that I wanted to share with you in the podcast, because I believe that this might help you as well. So this woman, she asked me, should I step into the mastermind whilst still recovering from a burnout? The short answer is No. But it's also really depending on which phase you're in. So I have been in a burnout in 2017. I'm never really sure which year it was, but I think it was 2017, I believe. Yes. Yeah, 2017. I think half a year, which is quite short actually for a burnout. I think, if I would be honest, because I started my business in January 2018. And the burnout started in summer 2017, so it was a half year. It was horrible. It was going out of a job. I'm not going to share too much of that experience, but it was actually not a very nice goodbye. And I started my business in 2018, and I think I still had to recover for another 6 months into the business, which was fine because I had a few clients, and I was starting up very slowly. Of course, I was a little bit stressed about money, but in the end, it was okay. So I think maybe truthfully, half year in real life, it was 1 year recovery. So if you're in really depending on, kind of the stages of the burnout, right? So and every burnout is different, obviously, and I'm not a therapist, so I don't know exactly what you should do. This is all very personal, but if you just start getting into your burnout, it's not that you planned for this, but if you just realized, okay, I have to stop, or I really can't do anything anymore, then it is very good to just do the things that you love doing, and that's it. No commitments, no nothing. That's it. But if you're a little bit at the end stage, and there's of course no set time for how long a burnout should air quotes take, but so if you're feeling like, okay, you kind of every day is a little bit more that you're thinking, oh, you know what, actually I do feel like working again, and if you're kind of getting into that, then maybe it might be a good time to start working on your self-development or your business, for instance, for the mastermind. So I really want you to kind of take the time to think about, what feels right. And so my answer would be no in the first place, because, obviously when you have the objection, I'm not going to talk you out of it or talk you into it actually, because you're not going to get the value that I want you to get. I don't want to work with someone who believes that maybe they don't have time for it. So I believe there is never a good time, but I really do believe with this specific case, of a burnout, I think we have to be very careful. So yes, no in the first place, but if you want to use the free time and want to channel that energy and maybe get out of the burnouts, with a nice, with a jolt, then of course you're very welcome, to join my program or any other program, that will be my advice. But really trusting on that feeling and knowing exactly, and this is difficult, obviously. Or maybe, try, maybe what also could help you is to buy maybe a small video course, which doesn't cost too much money, see how it's going, see how you respond. And, it's okay if you've, thrown out that money, so to say. But, you're just trying. But don't force yourself. That's actually my main message. Now, I have a question for you. So this might sound a little bit silly, right? So when I'm home alone, and not when I'm working, right? So when it's just, in the weekend or something, I'm sometimes preparing for an interview with no one in particular. Okay, it's Oprah, is doing with me. So, for instance, I'm going to explain first. So it allows me to visualize what I want in my life, to do that fake interview. And in my answers, I can always change the story here and there, and my ideas of the future become bigger and bigger. And I actually want to invite you to do the same, and maybe you're already doing that. So take a moment to audio record your life in a couple of, your life in a couple of years. Sorry, why would people interview you? What is the interview about? What have you done what are you going to be most proud of? It doesn't have to be so much business related. Maybe it's just because you're moving to Bali with your family, and actually it's one of the best decisions that you've ever made. And that's what people interview you for, asking a little bit about the practical decisions, but also kind of the big decision that you made in that. Or, I don't know exactly, of course, what your dream is. And so kind of visualize that and think about that interview. So it's a little bit also regarding what we spoke about earlier today, when you're being invited to speak, but also this could be being invited on stage, also to do an interview, maybe with Oprah. I mean, that would be insane, right? To be invited to one of her events. I'm mostly talking to myself. So just do that little interview. It's going to be a little bit silly because you're going to talk to yourself, obviously, and maybe you're going to give yourself some compliments. But I have done this. Oh yes, this is what I wanted to share. I have done this really since I was quite young, and without knowing and without calling it visualization or kind of manifesting. I actually was manifesting it. And so, and many things that I gave fake interviews about didn't happen, but that's okay. It kind of keeps you going. And, the more that you talk about it, the more that your idea becomes clearer. Of course, you have to take action, obviously, towards that, but just a little exercise to get you going for today. Thank you for listening to Big Business with Sarah. If you've enjoyed today's episode, leave a 5-star review and hit subscribe. If you're ready for your next step in business, you can find out how to work with me in the show notes. Do not forget to submit your coaching question for one of my next episodes. Have a happy day.